Hi Doomers, this is Andy PG. Now you know what I look like, you know what I sound like. I'm doing the PG post game here. I'm going to try and keep this under 15 minutes for YouTube purposes. As we go back through Hell in a Cell 2013, our opening contest was scheduled to be Curtis Axel and Big E Langston, but as we all know by now, Axel is injured. It became Damien Sandow and Kofi Kingston, with Sandow picking up the win. This is perfectly acceptable. Damien Sandow needs the momentum. He is Mr. Money in the Bank, which means he's kept viable as a potential main eventer. And Kofi Kingston really is going nowhere in his career. He was tried at the main event. It didn't work out. The fans still love him, so he's safe as a stepping stone for somebody to come up, and that's what he is in this match. Sandow with the win, that's what I hope for. The opening contest on the pay-per-view proper saw the Rhodeses defeating the Usos and the Shield to retain their tag team titles. Now, if you read the report on WWE.com, which is where I'm getting all my information from, you would think that the Usos really weren't in this match this much, and that's kind of curious, because the Usos seem to be the third wheel at this point. They seem to be the ones who are supposed to be in the Rhodes' place, but an audible was called. You would think that if you want to continue the Rhodes-Shield storyline, which is really where all the excitement is, you would have the Usos be the ones to take the fall. Instead, it was Seth Rollins, pinned by Cody Rhodes for the second consecutive pay-per-view, and now the Rhodeses and Usos might be the ones who are going at it. I'm not sure where they're going with this. Maybe they're going to build up another team afterwards. This looks like the place for the Wyatt family to step in, I guess. After that, we had a semi-impromptu mixed tag match. Fandango, I know you'd all get on me if I didn't let the A's breathe enough, and Summer Rae defeating the Great Khali and Natalya, who are an on-again, off-again combination. This was all about introducing us to Summer Rae as being more than just a dancer, being a wrestler. Obviously, if you've watched NXT like Tommy Hall and Scott Keith have, you already knew this. But now she's made her debut on the main stage. Natalya made her look very good. The guys were basically in there for comedy anyway, so throw them out. This was all about Summer Rae being established, and that's how it was done. Meanwhile, our next match was... Let me see here. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a brain fart. Big E Langston, of course, did not get the Intercontinental title shot. So instead he got a U.S. title shot against Dean Ambrose. The match ended in a countout, Dean Ambrose basically walking away. This kind of had to happen. This was an impromptu match. There was no real story behind it. Dean Ambrose is a very strong champion. You can't have him lose out of nowhere. You want that loss to mean something. So you want it to be built up to. But Big E Langston is somebody that you really believe in. So he couldn't lose the match either. Countouts and disqualifications on pay-per-views are annoying, but they have a purpose. And in a match like this, that was the purpose. The purpose was to keep both people strong. Dean Ambrose was able to keep strong. He's still the champion. The honky-tonk finish, if you want to call it that, is always viable. So, at this point, we're going to see where we go from here. I guess it all depends on how severe Axel's injury is. If it's going to require vacating the title, or if it's going to require a 90-second job to Langston, that's one thing. But if he's going to be back soon, then you go back with that. Now, if it's long-term, then maybe you put the Intercontinental title on ice for a while. You give Langston a program with Ambrose going for the U.S. title. That would be interesting. Let's see. The next match, we had CM Punk against Ryback and Paul Heyman. Really cute bit. Heyman hiding on the ceiling the whole time. For a match that was literally the same as we had last year, they had to do something to make it more interesting. And in this case, of course, it was hanging over everyone's head literally. It was Paul Heyman. And just like last year, CM Punk emerged victorious. We kind of knew this was going to happen, given how much in the doghouse Ryback is, according to the reports by Brian Bayless. So, the only mystery was what was going to happen with Paul Heyman. Now, Paul Heyman and CM Punk here are kind of doing the Ultimate Warrior Bobby Heenan dynamic from the late 80s, in that you're really paying to see the manager finally get his. He got his tonight, obviously. It's not like they could hold it off any longer. The only question is what happens with Paul Heyman. His Dangerous Alliance is falling apart. Curtis Axel is on the shelf. Ryback has just failed him, and it looks like he's going to be failing for some time. CM Punk now gets to gloat about it. You know Heyman's not going to take this lying down. Who's the next guy to step up? Will there be a next guy to step up? And if there isn't, what happens to CM Punk? They can't really throw him into either title picture. We'll discuss that later. And, because if they put him in the world title picture right now, you're doing a rehash either way you're doing it. And the WWE title picture is all about who the fans want to get behind. And I'm pretty sure CM Punk would out-popular Daniel Bryan. That is kind of the way that is. We had a filler match up next. Los Matadores making their pay-per-view re-debut under the masks against Jack Swagger and Antonio Cesaro. We the people. And we got all the spots we needed. We got Cesaro swinging somebody around for, we were told 31 rotations on the website. I'm going to buy that. But Matadores get the win. El Torito beats people up. The real question is who out of this whole cluster is going to really get over it. Looks like they want to do something with El Torito, but the WWE's track record with smaller people, and I just mean cruiserweights here, but minis not much better, has been a bit of a disaster. Cesaro is quickly becoming the popular one here. He needs to break away. Swagger, who, remember, was the reason we have the Real Americans gimmick in the first place, has basically had the carpet yanked out from underneath him at this point. Though, given that he had the biggest moment of all time at WrestleMania and blew it with his arrest, it's hard to feel sorry for him. So now at this point, what I think's coming forward is you're going to see Cesaro move away. You're going to see him leave Swagger and Coulter be the next foreigner they attack, if you will. The Matadores, who knows? If the Shield had one side, I think maybe you jumpstart them there, but there's still momentum in the Rhodes as the Usos. There really isn't enough variety in the tag division. The next match was John Cena's triumphant return. A triumph it was, defeating Alberto Del Rio. And what we see here basically is that Del Rio, there is no confidence in him. They keep having him hang around the main event scene, but they never really seem to be fully behind him. This was a golden opportunity to make Del Rio into a more ruthless and vicious villain, which they've always teased, the darker side of Alberto Del Rio, the more aggressive Alberto Del Rio. This was it. This was how you do it. You have him re-injure Cena's arm and take it all out on Cena, like he did with Dolph Ziggler, remember, back in June, to start this title reign. It could have been a great callback. It could have been something. Instead, they went with Cena, who's now a 14-time champion. He's only 2 away from Ric Flair, and Endgame is going to be getting him his number 15 and 16. The only question is when. With WrestleMania being up in the air, I don't expect it to solidify until after Survivor Series, really. That is the big question. After that, another missed opportunity. AJ Lee over Brie Bella. I am not in favor of this decision. Remember how the whole game started. AJ Lee came out and said the Total Divas were only reality stars. They were not good wrestlers. At some point, she has to be proven wrong. This was the best opportunity to be proven wrong because the fans kind of understand that Brie is the stand-in, the female Daniel Bryan, if you will. Not in terms of talent, not by a long shot. Although I do appreciate the fact that she's working in a submission hold or two. But in the sense that that is where she's getting her popularity. And as he succeeds, she succeeds. Now, they've already blown it with Natalya. They've already cast Naomi off to the side. Now Brie's gone. Who's next? Is it going to be Nikki? Is it going to be Cameron? The real fear here is that the end game is going to be Eva Marie or JoJo. Because who else is left? She's basically running the gauntlet through all these people that she's insulted, and somebody has to prove her wrong. The other thing is, as we've seen in the past year and a half, AJ has been put in positions that I don't think she's quite ready for, or that she's popular enough to deserve. She was handed the general managership of Raw. She had basically the entire main event fall in love with her. Now she's being seen as 100% right about the Total Divas not having any talent. Everybody hating her except for Tamina, so that she's the only person who can be a villain. It's almost kind of a microcosm of what we see in the main event at the worst with Hollywood Hogan in WCW, where everybody was focused on him, and he just kept winning because that's how things went there. I mean, it's WCW. There's no explaining it rationally, as you all know by now. And speaking of not being able to explain rationally, we got the main event. The finish to the main event does not make sense on the surface. We all know Shawn Michaels, at this point in his career, cannot really get the fans to hate him very well. I mean, it took going against Hulk Hogan to do it, and even then it was so temporary that he flipped back the next night. Now, if they wanted Randy Orton to be champion, there was a perfect way to do it. After Daniel Bryan hit Triple H with the running knee, that was the catharsis. That was the moment. Remember back on Monday night, Daniel Bryan had Randy Orton in front of him, had the WWE contract in front of him, and turned to Triple H and suddenly made him the focus. It's clear Daniel Bryan has become affected by what Triple H and what the authority has said about him. This is where they could have made the difference. You have him knock out Triple H, you have him celebrate that he's finally gotten something on Triple H, and then Randy Orton hits him with the RKO, gets the pin. He gets over as being able to exploit the weaknesses in his opponents. He looks like a viable champion, which is something that we desperately need at this point. And Daniel Bryan's issue with Triple H continues, because it's clear Daniel Bryan has a bigger focus right now. Instead, what we get is that Triple H laid a trap. He had Shawn Michaels in his back pocket. He holds all the cards again. And as I said in my Monday report, when the villain holds all the cards, that's just not fun for anybody. Overall, looking at this event, I'm disappointed. It's a lot of missed opportunities. I talk a lot about missed opportunities. I noted that the CM Punk, Paul Heyman thing was a missed opportunity for Curtis Axel. And now I'm going to say there was a missed opportunity tonight for Alberto Del Rio to establish himself as being a more ruthless villain that somebody could take out. Instead, he was barely a hiccup to John Cena. It was a missed opportunity for the Total Divas to have more fire in the women's division, to have a better established women's division where there are challengers. Instead, it's still AJ Lee and nobody else. And nobody likes her, but they can't stop her. But the big missed opportunity is that it's not just Daniel Bryan. Don't get me wrong, it's not just Daniel Bryan. Randy Orton is a missed opportunity here too. This could have been a chance to solidify him, because right now the story has been Daniel Bryan and Triple H, and he's sort of been off to the side. This could have been a chance to remind everybody why he's the champion. Instead, for the second time, he's been gift-wrapped the title through nothing he did. And right now, a paper champion is the last thing the WWE needs. If you want to call it MVP for tonight, call it John Cena for winning the world title in his return. Good for him. I am not thrilled by the results here. The booking gets about a 3.5 out of 10. And Raw tomorrow night, they really need to pull something out of the bag. They need a big development, and I mean bigger than Vince McMahon coming back, which is probably where they're going with this. They need somebody to step up. So, that's all I got to say here. This is Andy PG signing off. I'll see you all tomorrow night on the blog. Much love to Scott, to Tommy, to Brian, to everyone else who works at the Blog of Doom. See ya.